Thank you, Madam Chair, very much. The questions that I'm going to begin with refer to the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, and the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Program, or EIDL, which helped save millions of businesses during the pandemic. The SBA and Congress should be learning from our experiences to improve programs, keep fraudsters out, and target help to deserving small businesses. However, Republicans seem more intent on blaming the Biden administration than anything else. 2023 SBA report found that 86% of the fraudulent loans came under Trump during the first 9 months of the first pandemic relief programs. So, Mr. Kirk, your office's own 2023 report on pandemic fraud states that many of the SBA's improvements to stem fraud, quote, were made after much of the damage had already been done, and that fraudsters egregiously exploited SBA's weakened controls during the first year of the program, meaning during the Trump administration. So, Mr. Kirk, when were most PPP and EIDL loans made?
Thank you, Ranking Member, for the question. I appreciate it. As you described, the vast majority of the loans were made in the year 2020 and 2021. So they were in that time frame. That's when the pandemic occurred. So the relief that the country needed was at that time, and that's when the loans were.
93% of the EIDL grants were made in 2020 when President Trump was in office. Mr. Kirk, do you agree with your predecessor's finding that the vast majority of fraudulent PPP and EIDL loans were made during the first Trump administration? It seems that you do. Mr. Kirk and Mr. Diefenbach, excuse me?
No, I was going to say that was the time when the pandemic occurred. It was in 2020, and the economic relief that the country needed was at that time. So that's when the loans were dispersed.
And I think I heard you say, Mr. Diefenbach, that if pre-award vetting had been in place in 2020, we would have saved tens of billions of dollars. Is that what you said?
Correct, Ranking Member Markey. Had we had the data systems, the authorities, jurisdiction in place, we certainly could have identified significant amounts of potential fraud for which the proper due diligence could have been accomplished before the money went out the door.
Right. So back in 2020, if we had put those programs in place, we wouldn't be chasing fraud. We would have prevented the fraud in the first place.
Correct.
Right. Thank you. So do you agree with that, Mr. Kirk?
Thank you, Senator. Yeah, I agree that had different measures been taken, I think you learn an awful lot in hindsight, but because the pandemic was raging at that time and there was a strong desire, a bipartisan desire to try to save the economy, that's when those loans were made.
And what program should the Trump administration have put in place? Because as you're saying, you live life forwards, but you understand it backwards. So what program should have been in place in order to prevent against the faulty implementation of those laws?
I'm sorry, I'm not, the program, the pandemic, the PPP.
You agree with Mr. Diefenbach that we should have had those checks in right from the get-go? You do agree with that?
The protocols in place to prevent.
It would, again, hindsight is wonderful. I think there were significant controls put in place, but the fraudsters were very capable, and they were able to get by some of them. As I said, I think there was bipartisan interest in rescuing the economy from the ravages of the pandemic. And so the loans and grants that were made were intended to save the economy. Obviously, in hindsight,
I'm just trying to get the timeline down in terms of when that fraud began. And,
the fraud has continued in the past 5 years.
I appreciate
as well.
that, but as we just heard earlier, if the safeguards were in place initially, we would have saved tens of billions of dollars, and that's just the testimony that we received. And just a few weeks ago, the New York Times reported about a huckster who had been convicted of peddling bogus energy drinks in 2019, but was then pardoned with the help of one of President Trump's former lawyers as he concluded his first term in 2021. And just last year, that same huckster was convicted again of another fraud scheme that cost victims millions of dollars. So what did the president do? He granted another pardon to that same huckster. So, Mr. Diefenbach, as someone who has devoted nearly 3 decades of your life to fighting fraud, how does it feel to see convicted fraudsters let off the hook not once but twice because they happen to have a line into the president?
So, Ranking Member Markey, I'm not familiar with that matter at all, but I can look into it. If the law is followed throughout, then it's followed throughout. I don't know the facts.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.